The train lurched to a stop at Bellevue Station, spitting steam into the November cold. Lila Cross stepped onto the platform with a carpet bag that held everything she owned and a wedding dress she'd never wear. She wasn't supposed to be here. The real bride, whoever she was, had vanished 3 days before departure. The agency had been frantic. They'd offered Lila double pay to take her place, just to fulfill the contract. She'd said yes before thinking it through. Desperation has a way of making decisions easy. Now, standing in wind that cut through her wool coat like it was paper, she was regretting everything. Bellevue wasn't a town. It was a trading post, a stable, and a general store huddled together like they were ashamed to exist. Beyond that, nothing but mountains that looked like they wanted to kill you. A man stood near the freight wagon, tall, broad-shouldered, face like weathered stone. Silas Varden. She knew it was him because he was the only person there, and because he looked exactly like someone who'd order a wife through the mail. Practical, cold, impatient. He didn't move when he saw her, just stared. Lila forced herself to walk forward. Her boots crunched on frozen mud. She stopped 6 feet away, clutching her bag. "Mr. Varden?" His eyes swept over her, not with interest, with assessment, the way you'd look at livestock. "You're joking." She blinked. "Excuse me? I ordered someone who could work, not—" He gestured vaguely at her. "This." Heat flushed her cheeks despite the cold. "I can work. You can't even stand straight in the wind." "I'm fine." "You're freezing already. We haven't even left town." She straightened her spine. "I signed a contract, Mr. Varden. I intend to honor it." He laughed. It wasn't a nice sound. "Contract, right." He turned toward the wagon. "There's a boarding house 2 miles east. Stay there. I'll send your fee." "No." He stopped. "I said no." She stepped closer. "I came here to marry you. That's what I'm going to do." Silas turned slowly. "You don't know what you're agreeing to." "I know enough." "Do you?" He moved toward her. Not threatening exactly, but overwhelming. "I live 12 miles into the mountains, no neighbors, no town. Winter lasts 7 months. The work is brutal. The cold will kill you if the animals don't. I don't need a wife who will last 3 weeks, then beg me to take her back." "I won't beg." "You will. Try me." They stared at each other. The wind howled between them. Finally, Silas jerked his head toward the wagon. "Get in." He didn't help her up. The ride took 4 hours. Silas didn't speak. Lila didn't either, mostly because her teeth were chattering too hard. The road, if you could call it that, was a nightmare of rocks and ruts. The wagon jolted hard enough to rattle her bones. Twice, she nearly fell off. Silas didn't seem to notice. The mountains closed in around them. Trees so thick they blocked the sky. Shadows that felt alive. By the time they reached the cabin, Lila's hands were numb and her face burned from windburn. Silas pulled the wagon to a stop. "This is it." She looked up. The cabin was small. Rough-hewn logs chinked with mud. A chimney made of stacked stone. One window with oiled paper instead of glass. It looked like it was barely holding together. "Come on!" Silas jumped down, started unloading supplies. Lila climbed off the wagon carefully. Her legs nearly buckled. She caught herself on the side rail. Silas glanced over. "You hurt?" "I'm fine." "You don't look fine." "I said I'm fine." He shrugged, went back to unloading. Lila forced herself to move. She grabbed a sack of flour, nearly dropped it because it weighed more than she expected, and hauled it toward the cabin. The door was unlocked. Inside was darker than she'd imagined. One room, a stone fireplace, a rough table, a bed in the corner that looked like it was made from tree branches. She set the flour down, went back for more. Silas was already bringing in a crate of ammunition. He set it down hard. "You can stop. I'll get the rest." "I can help?" "You're struggling with a flour sack. I'll manage. You're wasting time." "It's my time to waste." His jaw tightened. He turned and walked back outside. Lila grabbed another sack. This one was beans, heavier than the flour. She made it halfway to the cabin before her grip slipped. The sack hit the ground. Beans scattered across frozen dirt. She crouched down, started scooping them back. "Leave it." She looked up. Silas stood over her. "Animals will get them overnight anyway," he said. Come inside. She wanted to argue, but her hands were shaking and she couldn't feel her feet. She stood up, followed him in. Silas shut the door. The cabin was warmer, but not by much. He moved to the fireplace, started building a fire with quick, efficient movements. Lila stood there uselessly. "There's a trunk by the bed," Silas said without looking at her. "Extra blankets inside. You'll need them tonight." "Where will you sleep?" "Same place I always do." She glanced at the bed, then at him. "We're not married?" He struck flint, caught a spark. "We will be. Tomorrow." "Tomorrow." "Circuit preacher comes through once a month. He's due in Bellevue at dawn. We'll ride out, get it done, come back." "That's it? What were you expecting?" She didn't have an answer. Silas stood, brushed off his hands. "I'm going to check the trap lines before dark. Don't touch the stove. Don't go outside. Don't open the door for anything." "What if—" "Anything." He grabbed a rifle from above the door. "I'll be back in 2 hours." Then he was gone. Lila stood in the silent cabin, listening to the wind outside, and wondered what she'd done. The wedding was worse than the proposal. They rode out at dawn. Lila was so saddle-sore she could barely walk by the time they reached Bellevue. The preacher was a thin man with kind eyes and a cough that sounded terminal. He married them in the trading post between shelves of canned goods and dried meat. Silas said, "I do," like he was confirming a supply order. Lila said it like she was signing her own death warrant. The preacher pronounced them married. Silas paid him $3. They rode back. Not once did he look at her. That night, Silas built a partition down the middle of the cabin with hanging canvas. "Your side, my side. We'll keep it that way." Lila didn't argue. She lay in the dark, listening to him breathe on the other side of the canvas, and tried not to think about how badly she'd miscalculated everything. The first week was humiliating. Silas left every morning before dawn. He'd come back at dusk, check whatever she'd tried to accomplish, and fix it without comment. She burned every meal. The stove was cast iron and temperamental, and she couldn't figure out the damper. Everything came out either raw or charred. Silas ate it anyway. Never complained, never complimented either. She tried to wash clothes in the creek. The water was so cold it felt like knives. She dropped one of his shirts. It washed downstream before she could grab it. When she told him, he just nodded. "I'll make another." She tried to chop firewood, managed 3 pieces before the axe slipped and nearly took off her foot. Silas found her sitting on the woodpile, shaking. He took the axe without a word, split 2 cords in an hour, then went back to his traps. Every night, she lay on her side of the canvas and listened to him on his. He never spoke, never crossed the partition, never acknowledged her except to point out what needed doing the next day. She was failing. She knew it. He knew it. She refused to quit. Chim. The second week, something shifted. Lila stopped trying to do things the way she thought they should be done. Started watching how Silas did them instead. He didn't cook with recipes. He cooked with rhythm. High heat, low heat, knowing when to pull things off before they burned. She started paying attention. He didn't chop wood with strength. He chopped with angles, let the axe do the work. She started practicing when he was gone. He didn't wash clothes in the creek. He heated water in a kettle, used lye soap, scrubbed on a washboard. She stopped destroying his shirts. Slowly, painfully slowly, she started getting things right. The first time she served him a meal that was actually edible, he paused, looked at the plate, looked at her. "Better," he said. It was the first compliment she'd gotten in 2 weeks. She didn't smile, but she felt something crack open in her chest. The third week, winter arrived. Not gradually, all at once. Lila woke up to frost coating the inside of the window paper. When Silas opened the door, snow blew in so hard it reached the fireplace. "Storm's coming," he said. "Big one." He spent the day reinforcing shutters, stacking firewood inside, checking the chimney. Lila helped where she could. Mostly she stayed out of the way. By nightfall, the wind was screaming. Silas barred the door, built the fire high. "It'll blow for 3 days, maybe 4. We have enough supplies? We'll find out." That first night, Lila barely slept. The cabin shook. Snow found every crack, every gap. The cold seeped in like something alive. Silas kept the fire going. She never saw him sleep. By the second day, they were rationing food. By the third, the woodpile inside was half gone. Silas started eyeing the furniture. "If it comes to it," he said, "the table burns first." Lila nodded. She was too cold to argue. On the fourth day, the wind finally died. Silas opened the door. Snow had drifted 6 feet high against the cabin. He grabbed a shovel, started digging. Lila pulled on every layer she owned and helped. It took hours to clear a path. By the time they finished, the sun was setting and her hands were bleeding from the cold. Silas looked at them. "You should have worn gloves." "I was." He took her hands, turned them over. The skin was cracked and raw. He went inside, came back with a tin of salve. "This'll help." He rubbed it into her palms. His hands were rough, scarred, surprisingly gentle. It was the first time he'd touched her since the wedding. "Thank you," she said quietly. He didn't respond, just capped the tin and went back inside. But something had changed. The fourth week, Lila stopped being a burden. She could cook now, not fancy, but solid. Stews that stuck to your ribs. Bread that didn't taste like rocks. She could chop wood, not fast but steady. She could mend clothes, tend the fire, manage the cabin while Silas worked the trap lines. He started leaving her alone for longer stretches. A full day, 2 days. She didn't panic, didn't fail. One evening, he came back with 3 rabbits and a fox pelt. He skinned them outside, brought the meat in. Lila had stew already going. She added the rabbit without being asked. Silas watched her. "You're learning." "I'm trying." "It's working." She glanced at him. He was looking at her differently. Not like livestock anymore, like a person. That night, after dinner, he spoke more than he had in a month. "I wasn't always alone," he said. "Had a partner once. Good man. We worked these mountains together for 5 years. Lila waited. "Bear got him 2 winters ago. I found him 3 days later." Silas stared into the fire. "That's when I decided I needed someone. Not for company, for survival. Can't work a trapline alone forever. Too dangerous." "So you sent for a wife." "I sent for a partner who happened to be a woman. Figured marriage made it legal. Simpler. And instead, you got me." He looked at her. "Yeah." "Disappointing?" "At first." He leaned back. "Now, I don't know. You're tougher than you look." "I'd have to be." He almost smiled. "Almost." "Why'd you come, Ma?" he asked. "Real reason," Lila hesitated. "I was running out of options." "From what? Does it matter?" "Might." She met his eyes. "I made a mistake. Got involved with the wrong people. Needed to disappear." Silas nodded slowly. "Fair enough. You're not going to ask what kind of mistake?" "No." "Why not?" "Because I don't care about who you were. I care about who you are now." Something in Lila's chest tightened. "And who am I now?" "Someone who doesn't quit." He stood, stretched. "That's enough for me." He went to bed. Lila sat by the fire for a long time, staring at the flames, feeling something dangerous bloom in her chest. Respect, maybe more. She pushed it down. This was a transaction, a survival agreement, nothing more. Mat la sol. The 5th week, the wolves came. Lila was alone. Silas had left at dawn to check a distant trap line. He'd said he'd be back by dark. Dusk came. No Silas. Full dark. Still nothing. Lila kept the fire high, the rifle loaded. She'd learned to shoot over the past weeks, cans at 20 paces. She wasn't good, but she could hit something if it was close enough. Around midnight, she heard them. Howling, close. She moved to the window, peered through a gap in the shutter. Eyes. Dozens of them. Reflecting firelight. The pack was circling. Lila's heart hammered. She checked the rifle. 6 shots. She counted at least 10 wolves. They were testing the cabin, scratching at the door, sniffing around the woodpile. One of them, bigger than the others, stood 20 feet away, staring directly at the window. The alpha. Lila's hands shook. If they got inside, she was dead. If they stayed out here until morning, they'd scatter when Silas came back. Unless they didn't. Unless they were desperate enough to fight. The scratching at the door got louder. Something heavy hit the wood. Once, twice, they were trying to break in. Lila made a decision. She grabbed the rifle, checked the loads one more time, and opened the door. The cold hit her like a fist. The wolves scattered back, but not far. The alpha stood its ground. Lila raised the rifle. Her breath came out in clouds. Her finger found the trigger. "Back off," she said. Her voice shook. The wolf didn't move. She fired. The shot went wide, hit a tree 10 feet left. The pack startled, but the alpha just watched her. She chambered another round, aimed more carefully. This time, she didn't miss. The alpha dropped. The pack erupted. Half scattered into the trees, the others charged. Lila fired again. Dropped another one. 3 left. She fired. Missed. 2 shots left. The nearest wolf was 15 feet away. She aimed, fired. It fell 5 feet from the porch. 1 shot left. 2 wolves. They split up, came at her from different angles. She chose the closer one. Fired. Click. Misfire. The wolf lunged. Lila swung the rifle like a club, caught it across the jaw. It yelped, staggered back. The second wolf hit her from the side. She went down hard. The rifle flew from her hands. Teeth snapped inches from her throat. She jammed her forearm under its jaw, pushed with everything she had. The wolf thrashed, clawed at her chest. Pain exploded across her ribs. She screamed, reached blindly. Her hand found something, a piece of firewood from the pile. She swung it into the wolf's skull. Once, twice. It went limp. She shoved it off, gasping. Blood soaked her coat. She couldn't tell how much was hers. The last wolf circled, wary now. Lila grabbed the rifle, fumbled for ammunition in her pocket. Her hands were shaking so badly she dropped the first round. The wolf crept closer. She got a round loaded, chambered it, raised the rifle. The wolf charged. She fired point blank. It dropped at her feet. Silence. Lila stood there, breathing hard, rifle still raised. Blood dripped from her coat onto the snow. Slowly, she lowered the gun. 5 wolves down. The rest were gone. She'd done it. She stumbled back into the cabin, barred the door, and collapsed against it. That's where Silas found her 3 hours later. Nick. What the hell happened? She looked up. Silas was crouched in front of her, hands hovering like he didn't know where to touch. "Wolves," she said. Her voice sounded strange, distant. Jesus. He saw the blood. "You're hurt." "I'm fine." "Like hell you are." He pulled her coat open. The shirt underneath was shredded. 4 deep scratches across her ribs. He grabbed clean cloth, pressed it against the wounds. "Hold this." She did. He moved fast, heated water, found the salve, came back with needle and thread. "This is going to hurt," he said. "I know." It did. He stitched her up with the same efficiency he did everything else. Lila bit down on leather and didn't make a sound. When he finished, he wrapped her ribs in clean bandages. "You killed them?" "5 of them." 5. The rest ran. He sat back, looked at her, really looked at her. "You could have stayed inside, waited for me. They were breaking down the door. You could have hidden, barricaded yourself in. And then what? Wait for them to give up?" "They were starving, Silas. They weren't leaving." He was quiet for a long moment. Then, "How many shots?" 6. "And you dropped 5 wolves with 6 shots." "I missed once." Something changed in his expression. "You sure you're from Boston?" "I learned from you. I never taught you to fight a wolf hand to hand." "You taught me not to quit." He stared at her. Then he did something she'd never seen before. He smiled. "Well," he said quietly, "I'll be damned." He stood, went outside, came back dragging the alpha's body. He dropped it by the fire. "Prime pelt," he said. "You earned it." Lila looked at the dead wolf, at her hands still shaking, at Silas watching her with something new in his eyes. Respect. "I'll skin it tomorrow," she said. "I'll help." "I can do it." "I know you can." He grabbed a blanket, wrapped it around her shoulders. "But you don't have to." For the first time since she'd arrived, Lila felt the space between them shift. Not strangers anymore. Not quite partners yet. But something. She fell asleep by the fire, wrapped in wool, with wolf blood still under her fingernails and Silas keeping watch through the night. When she woke at dawn, he was cooking breakfast. He set a plate in front of her. "Eat." She did. He sat across from her. Didn't say anything for a while. Then, "I was wrong about you." She looked up. "I thought you'd break," he said. "Thought you'd last a week, maybe 2, then beg to go back." "I'm stubborn." "You're more than that." He met her eyes. "You're exactly what I needed. I just didn't know it." Lila felt heat rise in her face. "It's just survival." "No," Silas said quietly. "It's not." He stood, grabbed his coat. "I'm checking the northern line today. You coming?" It was the first time he'd asked. Lila stood, her ribs screamed. She ignored them. "Yeah," she said. "I'm coming." They stepped out into the snow together. The mountains stretched before them, brutal, beautiful, endless. Lila had come here to disappear. Instead, she was finding exactly who she was. And for the first time in her life, she wasn't afraid of the answer. The northern trapline stretched 8 miles through terrain that wanted you dead. Frozen creeks hidden under snow. Drop-offs concealed by drifts. Trees so thick you could walk in circles for hours without knowing it. Silas moved through it like he'd been born there. Lila followed, trying not to fall too far behind. Her ribs hurt with every breath. The bandages pulled tight when she climbed over fallen logs. She didn't complain. Complaining was for people who had options. They checked 12 traps. 7 were empty. 3 had frozen rabbit carcasses. 1 had a pine marten still alive, snarling at them from inside the steel jaws. Silas crouched beside it. "Nice pelt. Should fetch good money come spring." He dispatched it quickly, reset the trap, moved on. Lila watched how he did everything, the way he read tracks in the snow, the angle he set the traps, which trees meant water nearby, which ones meant predators. He didn't teach, he just did. She learned anyway. By the time they started back, the sun was dropping fast. The temperature followed. "Storm coming," Silas said, scanning the sky. "We need to move." They did. Fast enough that Lila's lungs burned and her legs shook. She kept pace. They made it back 30 minutes before the snow hit. Silas barred the door, built the fire high. Lila collapsed onto her bedroll without bothering to remove her boots. "You did good today," Silas said. She looked over at him. He was organizing the pelts, his back to her. "Thanks. Most people can't keep up on that trail. I'm not most people." "No," he said quietly. "You're not." He hung the last pelt, turned to face her. "You hungry?" "Starving." "I'll cook." "I can see." "You're exhausted. Rest." She wanted to argue, but her body had other ideas. She closed her eyes, just for a moment. When she opened them again, it was dark and something smelled incredible. Silas was at the stove, stirring a pot. "Venison stew. Found some dried meat in the back I forgot about." Lila sat up slowly. Her ribs protested. "How long was I asleep?" 2 hours. "You should have woken me." "Why?" "You needed the rest." He ladled stew into 2 bowls, brought one over. "Eat." She did. It was the best thing she'd tasted in weeks. Savory, rich, with herbs she didn't know he had. "This is good," she said. "My mother's recipe. One of the few things I remember about her." It was the first time he'd mentioned family. Lila waited to see if he'd say more. He didn't, just ate in silence. After dinner, they sat by the fire. The storm raged outside. Inside was warm, almost comfortable. "Can I ask you something?" Lila said. Silas looked over. "Go ahead." "Why did you really send for a wife? And don't say survival. You managed 5 years alone after your partner died." He was quiet for a long time. Then, "I was tired." "Of what?" "Being alone. Coming back to an empty cabin every night. Talking to myself because there was no one else." He stared into the flames. "A man can only live like that for so long before it starts eating him alive." "So you wanted company." "I wanted a reason to come home." Something in Lila's chest tightened. "And did you get one?" He looked at her. "Yeah, I think I did." The moment stretched between them, fragile, dangerous. Lila broke it first. "I should sleep. Long day tomorrow?" "Probably." She stood, moved toward her side of the partition. "Lila." She stopped. I'm glad you stayed, Silas said, even when I told you not to. She smiled. Me too. That night, lying in the dark, listening to the wind howl and Silas breathe on the other side of the canvas, Lila realized something terrifying. She was starting to care about him. Not as a business arrangement, not as a survival partnership, as a man. She pushed the thought down. Feelings complicated things, made them messy. She'd learned that lesson hard in Boston. This was different. This had to stay simple, but her heart wasn't listening. December came with teeth bared. The cold dropped so low that water froze solid in the kettle overnight. Stepping outside felt like walking into knives. Silas stopped running the trap lines. Too dangerous. They had enough pelts stored to make it through winter. No point risking frostbite for a few more. Instead, they worked the cabin, reinforcing walls, sealing gaps, preparing for the worst. Being trapped together in one room for days on end changed things. They talked more. Not about anything important, just talked. Silas told her about growing up in Kentucky, how his father had been a coal miner who died when Silas was 12, how his mother had worked herself to death trying to keep food on the table. I left at 15, he said, headed west. Figured anything was better than suffocating in those mines. You ever go back? No reason to. Everyone I knew is dead or gone. Lila told him about Boston. Not the truth, not yet, but pieces of it. Growing up in a boarding house, working as a seamstress, the endless gray winters that felt like they'd never end. Sounds miserable, Silas said. It was. That's why I left. To come to a frozen mountain cabin in the middle of nowhere? At least this cold is honest. Back there everyone smiled while they stabbed you in the back. He nodded. I'll take a blizzard over fake people any day. They played cards by firelight. Silas taught her poker. She was terrible at it. You can't bluff worth a damn, he said, raking in another pot. I'm trying. Try harder. Your face shows everything. What's it showing now? That you're annoyed you keep losing. She threw a card at him. He caught it, grinning. It was the first time she'd seen him actually smile. Not almost smile. Actually smile. It changed his whole face. Made him look younger, less haunted. Deal again, she said. He did. She lost 4 more hands. This game is rigged, she muttered. You're just bad at lying. I can lie. Prove it. She met his eyes. I'm having a terrible time here. He studied her face. That's the truth. How do you know? Because you look miserable every time you say it. She laughed despite herself. Fine, you win. I know. They played until the fire burned low. Silas stood, stretched. I'm turning in. Me too. He paused at the partition. Lila? Yeah? Thanks. For what? Making this place feel less empty. He disappeared to his side before she could respond. Lila sat there, staring at the dying fire, feeling something shift inside her that she couldn't name. Or maybe she could. She just wasn't ready to admit it. Christmas came without fanfare. Lila woke to find a small, carved wooden bird sitting on her side of the partition. She picked it up. It was beautiful, detailed, made from pine, smooth and warm in her hand. She found Silas outside, splitting wood in the pre-dawn dark. You made this? He glanced over. Figured you should have something. It's Christmas. I didn't get you anything. Don't need anything. She turned the bird over in her hands. It's beautiful. It's just wood. It's more than that. She looked at him. Thank you. He shrugged, went back to splitting wood. Lila went inside, set the bird on the shelf above her bed where she could see it. A reminder that maybe, just maybe, this arrangement was becoming something neither of them had planned for. That afternoon, she made a proper Christmas dinner. Roasted rabbit, the last of the potatoes, bread that actually rose. They ate at the table together, not across from each other with tension, side by side like they'd done it 100 times. This is good, Silas said. Don't sound so surprised. I'm not. You've gotten good at this. I had a decent teacher. I never taught you to cook. You taught me to pay attention. Same thing. He considered that. I guess it is. After dinner, they sat by the fire. Snow fell outside, soft and steady. What did you used to do for Christmas? Lila asked.
Nothing much. When my partner was alive, we'd drink whiskey and complain about the cold. After he died, I just worked through it. That sounds lonely. It was. He looked at her. This is better. A bad cook and mediocre card player? Someone to talk to. Someone who doesn't quit when things get hard. He paused. Someone I actually like having around. Lila's breath caught. Silas.
I know this wasn't supposed to be about that, he said quickly. I know we agreed this was practical, a business arrangement, but I'd be lying if I said that's all it still is. For me, anyway. Her heart hammered. What are you saying? I'm saying I don't want you on the other side of that partition anymore. He met her eyes. I want you next to me, as my wife, not on paper, for real. The moment hung between them like glass about to shatter. Lila wanted to say yes. Every part of her wanted to say yes. But she couldn't. Not until he knew the truth. There's something I need to tell you first, she said. His expression shifted, guarded. All right. She took a breath. My name isn't Lila Cross. He waited. It's Elena Ward. And I didn't come here because I was running out of options. I came here because I was running from someone. Who? A man named Richard Vance. He owns half the railroads in the Eastern Territories. He's rich, powerful, and he's killed dozens of people to stay that way. Silas's jaw tightened. What does he want with you? I have proof, documents, ledgers showing every bribe, every murder, every piece of land he stole. I was his secretary. I saw everything, and when I tried to expose him, he tried to have me killed. So you disappeared. I had to. The agency that sent me here, they help women vanish, new names, new lives. I thought I'd be safe this far out. And now? Now I don't know. She met his eyes. I don't know if he's still looking. I don't know if he'll find me. But if he does, anyone with me becomes a target. That's why I couldn't say yes to what you just asked, because it's not fair to you. Silas was quiet for a long time. Then he stood, moved to a trunk in the corner, pulled out a wooden box. He opened it. Inside was a stack of letters. These came for me over the years, he said. From the agency. Updates on my order. I never read most of them. Didn't care about the details. He pulled one out, unfolded it, handed it to her. Lila read it. Her blood went cold. It was a wanted notice. Her face. Her real name. A reward offered by Richard Vance for information leading to her capture. You knew? She whispered. I suspected. When you first arrived, you were too jumpy, too careful. And that story about making a mistake, it didn't add up. He took the letter back. I didn't know the details until I rode into Bellevue last month for supplies. Saw this posted at the trading post. And you didn't say anything? What was I supposed to say? That I knew you were hiding? That didn't change anything. You were still working hard, still pulling your weight. Whatever you were running from, you'd earned the right to keep running. But if they come here, then they come here. He stepped closer. Elena, Lila, whatever name you want to use. I don't care about your past. I care about who you are now. And the woman you are now is someone worth fighting for. Tears burned her eyes. You don't know what you're saying. I know exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying if Richard Vance sends men after you, they'll have to go through me first. Silas, you can't. I can, and I will. He took her hands. You asked me once why I sent for a wife. The real reason? I was tired of surviving. I wanted to live. And for the first time in years, I am, because of you. A tear slipped down her cheek. This could get you killed. So could 100 other things out here. I'll take my chances. She looked up at him, at this man who'd been a stranger 3 months ago, who'd become her partner, her friend, maybe more. I don't know if I can do this, she whispered. Do what? Let someone in. Trust them. Every time I have, it's ended badly. I'm not them. I know, that's what scares me. He wiped the tear from her face with his thumb. Then be scared. But be scared here, with me. Don't run again. She closed her eyes, felt his hand warm against her cheek. When she opened them, she'd made her decision. Okay, she said. Okay? I'll stay. I'll trust you. But if things go bad, they won't. If they do, you leave. You save yourself. Promise me. I'm not promising that. Silas, no. His voice was firm. We're in this together now. Whatever comes, we face it together. That's the deal. She searched his face, saw nothing but certainty. You're stubborn.
So are you. We're a good match. She laughed through her tears. Yeah, I guess we are. He pulled her close, wrapped his arms around her. She buried her face in his chest and let herself feel safe for the first time in months. Outside, the snow kept falling. Inside, something new was being built. Not just shelter from the cold, a home.
January froze the world solid. The temperature dropped so low that breathing hurt. Silas stopped going outside except for absolute necessities. They spent most days pressed close to the fire, wrapped in every blanket they owned. The partition came down. They didn't discuss it. One morning, Lila just pulled it aside and it stayed that way. They shared the bed now, not for romance, for warmth. Two bodies generated more heat than one. At least, that's what they told themselves. But lying in the dark, pressed against each other, things shifted. Silas would wake first, find her curled against him. He'd stay still, not wanting to disturb her. Lila would wake later, feel his arm around her waist. She'd let herself stay there, just for a moment. Neither of them talked about it. One night, the cold was so bad they thought the fire might go out. Silas fed it constantly, burning through wood faster than he wanted. Lila pressed against his back, shivering. Is it always this bad? Sometimes worse. How did you survive alone? Barely. He turned to face her. This is better. Freezing to death with company? Staying warm with you. She looked up at him. Their faces were inches apart. Silas. Yeah? I think I'm falling in love with you. He went still. You think? I know. I'm just scared to say it. Why? Because every time I've loved someone, it's fallen apart. I'm not going anywhere. You can't promise that. I can. And I am. He touched her face. I love you too. Have for a while now. I just didn't know how to say it. She felt tears coming, fought them back. This is a terrible idea. Probably. We barely know each other. I know you fought a wolf pack alone. I know you don't quit even when you should. I know you make terrible coffee and you cheat at cards and you talk in your sleep. He smiled. What else do I need to know? She laughed. I don't cheat at cards. You absolutely do. Prove it. Later, he kissed her forehead. Right now I just want to stay here with you and not freeze to death. Romantic. I try. She pressed closer. Let herself feel this. Let herself believe it might actually last. Outside, the wind howled. Inside, they held each other and waited for spring. Sit. February brought a thaw. Brief, but enough to make travel possible again. Silas made a run to Bellevue for supplies. He took Lila with him. You sure? She asked. If someone recognizes me. They won't. It's been months, and you look different now. She did. Harder. Leaner. Her hands were calloused, her face weathered from sun and wind. The soft Boston woman was gone. They rode together, taking turns on the horse. It felt good to move, to see something besides trees and snow. Bellevue was quiet. A few trappers, a supply wagon, the usual drifters. They went to the trading post. Silas ordered flour, beans, coffee, ammunition. The clerk, a balding man named Tucker, tallied it up. That'll be $18. Silas paid. Started loading supplies. Tucker looked at Lila. You Varden's wife? She nodded. Heard he got married. Didn't believe it. Tucker grinned. How's he treating you? Fine. He always this talkative? Always. Tucker laughed. Well, good luck to you. Winter's brutal up there. They finished loading. Lila waited outside while Silas handled the last of it. That's when she saw the poster. It was tacked to the wall near the door. Fresh, new. Her face stared back at her. Older sketch than the last one, but clearly her. Wanted. Elena Ward. Elena Ward. Reward, gold, $500. Contact Richard Vance. Enterprises. Her stomach dropped. Silas came out, saw her staring, followed her gaze. His expression went cold. "When was this posted?" he asked Tucker. 2 days ago, some fancy-dressed men came through, said they're looking for a fugitive. Left posters all over. "They still here?" "Nah. Moved on to the next town, said they're covering the whole territory." Silas grabbed the poster, ripped it down. "Hey," Tucker started. "Bill me for it." Silas handed him $1. "And if anyone asks about my wife, you never saw her." Tucker looked between them. Understanding dawned. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Good man." They rode back fast. Didn't speak until they were miles from town. "They're getting closer," Lila said. "Doesn't matter." "Silas, $500 is a lot of money. Someone will talk." "Not if they don't see you." "You can't keep me hidden forever." "I can try." "And when they come here? When they knock on our door?" He didn't answer right away. Then, "We'll handle it." "How?"
"I don't know yet, but we will." They made it back to the cabin as the sun set. Silas unloaded the supplies in silence, his jaw tight. Lila watched him. "You're angry." "I'm thinking." "About what?" "About how to keep you safe." "Maybe I should leave. Head further west, Canada, maybe." He stopped, turned to face her. "No." "Silas, I said no. You're not running again. We're figuring this out together." "There's nothing to figure out. They'll find me eventually. And when they do, I'll be ready." "Ready for what? A gunfight? You're one man. I've handled worse." "Not like this. Not against men with money and resources and no reason to show mercy." He crossed to her, took her shoulders. "Listen to me. I'm not letting anyone take you. I don't care who they are or how much money they have. You're my wife. This is my home. And I'll defend both with my life if I have to. That's what I'm afraid of." "Don't be." He pulled her close. "I've survived this mountain for 10 years. I can survive a few hired guns." She wanted to believe him, wanted to think love and determination were enough. But she'd seen what Richard Vance did to people who crossed him, and she was terrified Silas was about to become one of them. March came with false promises. Warm days followed by freezing nights, snow that melted only to freeze again into ice. Silas started preparing. He never said for what, but Lila knew. He checked his rifles obsessively, cleaned them, oiled them, made sure every chamber was loaded. He reinforced the cabin door, added a bar, nailed shutters over the window. He stockpiled ammunition, more than they'd ever need for hunting. "You're building a fortress," Lila said one evening. "I'm being smart. You're expecting a war." "I'm expecting trouble. There's a difference." She sat next to him while he worked. "What if we ran, both of us, left everything and just disappeared?" "To where?" "Anywhere. Canada, Mexico. Somewhere they couldn't find us." "They'd find us. Money like that always finds people." He set down the rifle he was cleaning. "Besides, I'm done running. This is my home. I'm not giving it up. Even for me, especially for you, because you deserve a place where you don't have to keep looking over your shoulder, and I'm going to make sure you have it." "How?" "By making it clear that coming after you isn't worth the cost." "Silas, that's crazy. Maybe, but it's the only play we have." He went back to cleaning the rifle. Lila watched him, fear and love tangled together in her chest. She'd never had anyone willing to fight for her before. Not like this. It was terrifying. It was everything.
They came on a Tuesday in late March. Lila was washing clothes when she heard the horses. 4 of them, moving slow up the trail. She dropped the washing, ran inside. "Silas?" He was at the table sharpening a knife. He looked up, saw her face. "How many?" 4 riders. He stood, grabbed a rifle, tossed her another. "You remember how to shoot?" "Yes." "Good. Get behind the table. Don't fire unless I tell you to." "Silas, do it." She did. Crouched behind the overturned table, rifle raised. Silas moved to the door, waited. The horses stopped outside. Footsteps. Heavy boots on frozen ground. A knock. "Silas Varden? We need to talk." The voice was smooth, educated, Eastern. Silas didn't open the door. "Talk from there." "My name is Harrison Cole. I'm a representative of Richard Vance Enterprises. We're looking for a woman, Elena Ward. We have reason to believe she may be in this area. Haven't seen her. Are you certain? Because we're offering a substantial reward for information, $500. That's more than most men make in a year out here. Don't care about your money. Everyone cares about money, Mr. Varden. I don't. Now get off my land. Silence. Then, I'm afraid we can't do that. Not without searching your property first. You got a warrant? We don't need one. We're private contractors. Then you got nothing. And if you're still standing there in 10 seconds, I'm putting a bullet through that door. Another pause. Then footsteps spreading out, surrounding the cabin. Silas glanced back at Lila, mouthed, "Stay down." She nodded. "Mr. Varden," Cole called. "We know she's in there." The man at the trading post was very helpful after we persuaded him. "Just hand her over. We'll pay you the reward and be on our way. No one gets hurt." Tucker talked?
Everyone talks. Eventually. Silas's expression went cold.
"Final warning. Leave now."
I'm afraid we can't do that. A crash. Someone hitting the door with something heavy. Silas fired through the wood. A scream outside. All hell broke loose. Gunfire erupted. Bullets punched through the walls. Lila pressed flat, covering her head. Silas moved to the window, fired 3 quick shots. Someone cursed outside. "Two down," he shouted to Lila. "Two left." The door shook again, wood splintered. Silas reloaded, aimed low, fired. The crashing stopped. Another scream. "Three down!" Return fire shattered the window. Glass and wood splinters flew. Silas ducked back, bleeding from a cut on his cheek. "Cole," he shouted, "that leaves just you. Want to keep going? You just killed 3 men, Varden. They'll hang you for this. Only if someone's alive to tell them, and that's looking less likely by the second." Silence. Then, "What do you want?" "I want you gone. Tell Vance his secretary died in a blizzard. Tell him whatever you want. But if you come back here, I'll kill you. That's a promise." More silence. Then hoofbeats. Fast. Retreating. Silas waited, listened. The sound faded into nothing. He lowered the rifle slowly. He's gone. Lila stood on shaking legs. For now. Maybe for good. 3 dead men is a high price. Vance might decide you're not worth it. Or he'll send more. Then we'll handle more. He moved to her, pulled her close. "You all right?" "I'm fine. You're bleeding." "Just a scratch." She touched his face. Blood smeared on her fingers. "We need to leave. Tonight. Before he comes back with reinforcements." "We're not leaving." "Silas, this is our home. I'm not giving it up because some rich bastard wants revenge. This isn't about the home anymore. It's about staying alive." "Then we stay alive here." He kissed her forehead. Together, outside, 3 men lay dead in the snow. Lila stared at them through the broken window. This was her fault, her past, her choices. And Silas was willing to die for them. She didn't know whether to love him more for it or hate herself for letting him. They buried the bodies before dawn, not out of respect, out of necessity. Come spring thaw, decomposing corpses would attract predators and questions. Silas dug while Lila kept watch. The ground was still half frozen. It took hours. By the time they finished, both were exhausted and covered in dirt. "We should check them for identification," Lila said. "See if they have anything useful." Silas nodded. They went through the dead men's pockets methodically. 2 had nothing but ammunition and tobacco. The 3rd had a letter. Lila unfolded it, read by lamplight. Her hands started shaking. "What is it?" Silas asked. "Instructions from Vance." She looked up. "He didn't just send them to find me. He sent them to kill me. And anyone harboring me." "Let me see." She handed it over. Silas read in silence, his expression darkening with every line. The letter was specific, brutal. It outlined exactly how they were supposed to dispose of Elena Ward's body. Make it look like an accident, a fall, a wild animal attack, anything but murder, and if anyone got in the way, eliminate them too. "This is evidence," Silas said, "proof of what he's doing. It's also a death sentence. If we use it, he'll send everyone he has after us." "He's already doing that." "Not like he will if he knows we can prove premeditated murder." Lila took the letter back, stared at it. "This changes everything."
How? Because now we have leverage, not just my testimony, physical evidence of his crimes in his own handwriting. She looked at Silas. We could actually destroy him. Or we could burn it and hope they stop coming. They won't stop, you know that. Vance doesn't quit. He'll send more men, better men, until one of them succeeds.
Silas was quiet. Then, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking we stop running and start fighting. Really fighting. We take this evidence to the federal marshals. We expose everything he's done. We end this. That means leaving the mountain. For a while. Yes. And if it doesn't work? If the marshals are bought off? If Vance has enough connections to bury this? Then at least we tried. At least we didn't just sit here waiting to die. Silas studied her face. You're sure about this?
No. But I'm sure about doing nothing getting us killed. She folded the letter carefully. This is our chance. Maybe our only one. He nodded slowly. All right. We do it your way, but we do it smart. We plan. We prepare. And we don't move until we're ready. Agreed. They spent the rest of the night going through the dead men's supplies. Found 4 horses, enough ammunition for a small war, dried food, bedrolls, and a map with routes marked in pencil.
They were systematic, Silas said, studying the map, checking every homestead, every cabin, every camp between here and Denver. How long until they expected to report back? According to this schedule, 3 days. So we have 3 days before Vance knows they're dead. Probably less. Cole got away. He'll report as soon as he reaches a telegraph, Lila calculated. Bellevue has a telegraph office. That's 4 hours by horse. Add time to compose the message, time for Vance to respond with orders. We have maybe 2 days before the next wave comes. Then we leave tomorrow night, travel fast, reach the federal marshal's office in Silverton before they can organize. Silverton's 6 days hard ride from here. Then we ride hard. They worked through dawn, packing only essentials. Food, ammunition, the evidence, 2 rifles, 2 pistols, knives. Lila changed into men's clothes, pants, heavy shirt, coat. Bound her hair up under a hat. If anyone saw them from a distance, they'd look like 2 trappers, not a wanted woman and her husband. Silas watched her transform. You look different. That's the idea. I meant you look dangerous. She checked the pistol's chamber, snapped it closed. Good. Something had shifted in her. The frightened woman who'd stepped off that train was gone. In her place was someone harder, someone who'd killed wolves and survived winter and wasn't about to let rich men with guns decide her fate. They spent the day fortifying the cabin. If they didn't come back, Silas wanted it defendable. If they did come back, they'd need it intact. He showed Lila where he'd hidden supplies throughout the property. Ammunition buried in sealed tins, dried food in waterproof sacks, a spare rifle wrapped in oilcloth under the floorboards. You think like someone who expects to lose everything, she said. I've lost everything before. I learned to prepare for it. What did you lose? He was quiet for a moment. My partner, the one I told you about. When he died, I lost more than a friend. I lost my trust that anything good could last. He looked at her. Until you. I'm not good at lasting either. You've lasted this long. So far. That's all any of us get. So far. He touched her face. But I'm planning on making so far stretch as long as possible. She leaned into his hand. Me too. That night they lay together in the darkness, neither sleeping. Tomorrow, they'd leave everything behind. Tomorrow, they'd bet their lives on evidence and hope. You scared? Silas asked. Terrified. Me too. You don't seem it. I'm good at hiding it. He pulled her closer. But I am. Scared of losing you, scared of failing, scared this is all going to blow up in our faces. Then why are we doing it? Because the alternative is worse. Spending the rest of our lives waiting for the knock on the door, always looking over our shoulders, never safe. He kissed her forehead. I'd rather die fighting than live afraid. That's dramatic. It's true. She pressed her face against his chest. Promise me something. What? If it comes down to it, if you have to choose between the evidence and me, you choose yourself. You run. You survive. I'm not promising that. Silas? No. We survive together or not at all. That's the deal. That's stupid.
It's love. She pulled back to look at him. Is it? Yeah, it is. He met her eyes. I love you. Completely. Probably foolishly, but I do. And I'm not losing you to some railroad tycoon with more money than morals. Tears burned her eyes. I love you too. That's why I need you to promise. I can't, so stop asking. She wanted to argue, but she knew that expression, knew that tone. Silas Varden was the stubbornest man she'd ever met. Once he decided something, the mountains themselves couldn't move him, so she kissed him instead, poured everything she couldn't say into it, all her fear and hope and desperate love. He kissed her back just as fiercely. They made love that night like it might be the last time, urgent and tender and achingly real. Afterward, lying tangled together, Silas whispered, "We're going to make it through this." How do you know? Because we have to. The story doesn't end here. Life doesn't care about stories. Then we'll make it care. She almost believed him. Quote, they left at midnight. 2 horses, light packs, rifles across their backs. The mountain was silent under a half moon. Their breath came out in clouds. The cold bit through layers of wool. Silas led. Lila followed close. They moved fast, taking trails Silas knew by heart, paths that didn't appear on any map. By dawn, they'd covered 20 miles. They stopped to rest the horses and eat. How much further to the main road? Lila asked. Another 10 miles. We'll reach it by midday. Follow it south toward Silverton. That's where we'll be exposed. Can't be helped. The back trails don't go that far. They rode on. The sun climbed. The temperature rose just enough to turn the snow slushy and treacherous. Around noon, they heard riders behind them. Silas pulled up short, listened. 2 horses. Moving fast. Could be anyone. Could be, but I'm not betting on it. He scanned the area. There. That ridge. We can see them coming without being seen. They rode hard for the ridge, dismounted, positioned themselves behind rocks. 10 minutes later, 2 riders appeared, both wearing dark coats, both armed. You recognize them? Silas whispered. Lila studied them through the scope of her rifle. No, but they're not trappers. Look at how they sit their horses. Military training, maybe. Or professional guns. Vance's men. Probably. The riders slowed. One pointed at the ground, tracking. They found our trail, Silas said. We need to move. Or we end this now. He looked at her. You want to ambush them? 2 less men hunting us, 2 less we have to worry about later. You've never killed a person before. I killed 3 wolves. How different can it be? Very different. Then you do it. Elena, we don't have time to debate this. Either we take them out now or we spend the next 6 days checking behind us. Your choice. Silas was quiet. Then he raised his rifle. You take the one on the left. I'll take the right. On my count. 3, 2, 1. They fired. Both riders dropped. The horses bolted. Silence. Lila lowered her rifle. Her hands were shaking. Did we... Stay here, I'll check. Silas moved down carefully, rifle ready. Lila watched from the ridge, heart pounding. He reached the bodies, checked them, looked back up at her, nodded. Dead. Both of them. Lila felt sick. This was different from wolves. These were men. Paid killers, yes, men who would have killed her without hesitation, but still men. Silas came back up. You all right? I don't know. It gets easier. I don't want it to get easier. He understood. Come on. We need to move before anyone else comes looking. They caught the bolted horses, added them to their string. More horses meant they could switch mounts, move faster, go further. They rode hard for the rest of the day. Reached the main road just before dark. It was wider here. More traveled, more dangerous. We stay off the road, Silas said. Parallel it through the trees. Harder riding, but safer. They did. It was brutal. Low branches caught their coats. Roots threatened to trip the horses, but they made progress. By nightfall, they'd covered another 15 miles. They camped cold, no fire, in a dense grove of pines. Lila ate dried meat and hardtack without tasting it. Her mind kept replaying the moment those riders fell. The way they just crumpled, the finality of it. Talk to me, Silas said. About what? Whatever you're thinking that's making you look like that. I killed someone today. You defended yourself. It doesn't feel like defense. It feels like murder. Murder is killing someone who doesn't deserve it. Those men were hunting you. They would have dragged you back to Vance or put a bullet in you. What we did was survival. And that makes it right? It makes it necessary. Right and wrong get complicated when people are trying to kill you. She looked at him. Does it bother you? The killing? Every time. But I do it anyway because the alternative is worse. He moved closer. You did good today. Kept your head. Made the hard call. That takes strength. It takes desperation. Sometimes they're the same thing. They slept in shifts. Lila took first watch, sat with rifle across her knees and listened to the forest. Every sound made her jump. Every shadow looked like an armed man. When Silas took over, she tried to sleep. Couldn't. Just lay there staring at stars through pine branches and wondering how her life had become this. 6 months ago, she'd been pouring tea in Boston. Now she was a fugitive with blood on her hands, running through mountains with a man she loved and evidence that could topple an empire. The absurdity of it would have been funny if it wasn't so terrifying. Day 2 brought rain, cold, sleeting rain that soaked through everything and turned the ground to mud. They rode miserably. Water dripped from hat brims. The horses slipped and struggled. Progress slowed to a crawl. By afternoon, Silas called a halt. We need to find shelter. The horses are done. They found a shallow cave, barely more than an overhang. But it was dry. They led the horses in, stripped the wet saddles, rubbed them down. Silas built a tiny fire in the back of the cave. Lila huddled near it, shivering. How much further? She asked. At this pace? 4 more days. That's too long. Cole's had time to report. Vance has had time to respond. They'll be looking for us. Can't be helped. We push the horses harder in this weather. They'll break down. Then we're on foot. What if we split up? You take the evidence, move fast. I circle back, draw them away from you. No. Silas? I said no. We stay together. It's the smart play. It's the play that gets one of us killed. So no. She wanted to argue, but she was too cold and tired and scared. They sat in silence, listening to rain hammer the rocks outside. Tell me about Silverton, Lila said eventually. What's it like? Bigger than Bellevue. Actually has a sheriff's office, federal marshal, telegraph, hotel. It's civilization, relatively speaking. And you think the marshal will help us? Depends on the marshal. Last I heard it was a man named Garrett. Fair reputation. Not known to be on anyone's payroll. Last you heard. That could have changed. Everything could have changed. We're betting our lives on a lot of maybes. He looked at her. You want to turn back? And go where? The cabin? Wait for them to come in force? We're committed now. We could go north, Canada, like you said before. You said you wouldn't run. I said I wouldn't run alone. Running with you is different. She considered it. The temptation was real. Forget the evidence. Forget justice. Just disappear into wilderness and hope. But she knew Vance, knew how he operated. He didn't forgive, didn't forget. He'd chase them to the ends of the earth if he had to. No, she said. We finish this. We take him down or die trying. Die trying. You make it sound so appealing. I'm a realist. You're stubborn. I learned from the best. He smiled despite everything. Fair point. They slept curled together for warmth. The rain continued all night. By morning, the world was gray and miserable, and the trail was a river of mud. They rode anyway. Day 3 brought trouble. They were crossing a valley when Silas spotted smoke. Campfire. 1/2 mile east. Could be anyone, Mum, Lila said. Could be, but we're not taking chances. He changed course, gave the camp a wide berth. They were almost past when someone shouted, Hey, you there! Silas cursed, kept riding. I said stop! Gunshot, warning shot, high and wide. Silas pulled up. Stay calm, let me do the talking. 3 men emerged from the trees, rough-looking, armed with rifles. Where you headed? The leader asked. He was tall, scarred, missing 2 fingers on his left hand. Silverton, Silas said. Just passing through. Awful late in the season for travel. Got business that won't wait. Scarface looked them over, lingered on Lila. That your boy? My partner. Quiet one, ain't he? He doesn't talk much. Scarface stepped closer, studied Lila's face under the hat brim. Funny. Almost looks like a woman under all that.
Lila kept her expression neutral, didn't speak. You got a problem with my partner? Silas asked. His hand drifted toward his pistol. Easy now, just making conversation. Scarface smiled, showed brown teeth. See, thing is, we heard there's a reward out. $500 for a woman. Elena Ward. Dark hair. About this height. He gestured. Real specific description. Haven't seen anyone like that. You sure? Because $500 buys a lot of forgiveness for trespassing on claimed land. This isn't claimed land. Is now. We claimed it. And unless you pay the toll, you're trespassing. How much is the toll? Let's say everything you're carrying. Horses, supplies, weapons. You can walk to Silverton. Silas's jaw tightened. That's robbery. That's the toll. Pay or we take it. 3 on 2. Those aren't good odds for you.
Scarface laughed. Aren't they? See, my boys are already aiming at you. You draw, you die. Simple math. He was right. The other two had rifles trained on them. Lila met Silas's eyes, shook her head slightly. Not worth dying over. Silas saw it, hated it, but nodded. All right, he said. We'll pay, but we keep 1 horse and enough food to reach town. You're not in a position to negotiate. Neither are you. You shoot us. You get nothing. We give you most of what we have. Everyone walks away happy. Scarface considered. 1 horse, 1 day's food. That's it. Deal. They dismounted slowly, started unloading. Silas watched the men carefully, looking for an opening. Lila saw it first. One of the riflemen was watching the supplies pile up, distracted. The other was too far right, bad angle for a quick shot. She caught Silas's eye, glanced at the distracted one, back to Silas. He understood. You want the rifles too? Silas asked, unbuckling one from his saddle. Everything. Seems excessive. Seems smart. Can't have you shooting us in the back once you're down the trail. Silas pulled the rifle free. Fair point. He spun, fired from the hip, dropped the distracted rifleman. Lila drew her pistol, shot the second rifleman before he could aim. Scarface dove for cover. Silas and Lila ran for the trees. Bullets chased them. Bark exploded. Branches snapped. They made it to cover, dropped flat behind a fallen log. You hit? Silas asked. No, you? I'm good. He reloaded. This was a bad idea. Your bad idea. You started it. I finished it. Gunfire tore through the branches above them. They pressed lower. We can't stay here, Lila said. Can't run either. He'll pick us off. So what do? We end it. Silas rose fast, fired 3 quick shots, forcing Scarface to keep his head down. Lila used the moment to sprint left, flanking. She moved quiet. Years of walking on creaky boarding house floors had taught her how to step light. She circled wide, came up on Scarface's position from the side. He was focused on where they'd been. Didn't see her until too late. She put the pistol to his head. Drop it. He froze. I said drop it. The rifle hit the ground. Kick it away. He did. Silas emerged from cover, walked over. Nice work. I learned from watching you. Scarface glared at them. You're dead, both of you. Vance's men are everywhere. They'll find you. How do you know about Vance? Lila asked. Whole territory knows. He's offering $500 for the woman, $200 for anyone harboring her. That's $700 for turning you both in. And you thought you'd collect. Why not? Easy money. Silas hit him. Hard. Scarface went down. That's for threatening my wife. Scarface spit blood. Wife? So you're the one harboring her. I'm the one who's about to decide whether you live or die. Choose your next words carefully. Scarface looked between them, saw death in Silas's eyes. I won't say anything, he said quickly, about seeing you, about which way you're headed. Nothing. Why should I believe you? Because dead men don't spend reward money. You let me live. I forget I saw you. We both get what we want. You're lying. Maybe, maybe not. But you don't strike me as the kind who shoots unarmed men in cold blood. Silas looked at Lila. Your call. She studied Scarface, saw a liar, a thief, a man who'd sell them out the second it was convenient. But Silas was right. They weren't killers by nature. Not yet. Tie him up, she said. Gag him. By the time he gets free, we'll be long gone. They used rope from the saddlebags, bound Scarface's hands and feet, gagged him with his own bandana, left him under a tree. They took their supplies back, and his horses, and his guns. That was mercy, Silas said as they rode away. That was stupidity. He'll talk. Probably, but at least we tried. Tried what? To stay human. She understood. Every kill, every hard choice, every brutal decision took something from them, left them a little colder, a little harder. If they weren't careful, they'd survive this but lose themselves in the process. They rode in silence for an hour. Finally, Lila spoke. Thank you. For what? For letting me make that call, for not just shooting him. It was your call to make. This is your fight. I'm just along for the ride. It's our fight now. You made it that when you fired that first shot at Cole's men. No regrets? None? About protecting you? Never. He looked over at her. About maybe getting us both killed? We'll see. She almost smiled. Ever the optimist. Someone has to be. They made camp that night in a dense thicket. No fire, cold food, quiet desperation. Lila sat with her back against a tree, rifle across her knees, and wondered how much further they could run before the world ran out. Check. Day 4 brought clear skies and frozen ground. They made good time, covered 30 miles by nightfall. They were 2 days from Silverton now, close enough to taste it, far enough that anything could still go wrong. They camped near a stream. Silas refilled canteens while Lila tended the horses. You ever think about what happens after? She asked. After what? After we turn in the evidence. After Vance goes down. What then? Then we go home. You make it sound simple. It is simple. We did what we had to do. Then we get back to living. What if they want us to testify? What if it takes months, years? Then we'll deal with it, together. She wanted to believe it would be that easy, but she'd spent too long looking over her shoulder to think this ended with them riding off into the sunset. What if he gets away with it? She said quietly. What if we hand over everything and he still walks free? Then we tried. That's more than most people do. Is it enough? It has to be. She looked at him across the firelight. I'm scared, Silas. I know. Not of dying. Of this being for nothing. Of sacrificing everything and having it not matter. It'll matter. Even if Vance walks. Even if the marshals are corrupt. Even if every system fails. It'll matter that we fought back. That we didn't just roll over. He moved closer. And if nothing else, it matters to me. You matter to me. That's enough. She leaned against him. When did you get so philosophical? When I fell in love with a woman who asks hard questions. She smiled despite everything. I love you. I love you too. Now get some sleep. 2 more days of hard riding ahead. She did. Slept better than she had in days. Woke to frost and sunlight and Silas making coffee. Thought you said no fires, she mumbled. We're far enough out, and you needed real coffee. She sat up, accepted the cup. It was hot and bitter and perfect. You're getting soft, she said. I prefer to think of it as strategically compassionate. That's a fancy way of saying soft. Take the coffee, or I'll drink it myself. She took it, wrapped her hands around the warm metal cup, and watched the sun rise through the trees. For a moment, just a moment, everything felt possible. Then Silas stiffened. We've got company. She set the coffee down, grabbed her rifle. Where? North Ridge, 3 riders, maybe 4. How far? Mile, maybe less. They're moving fast. Toward us? Can't tell yet. They broke camp in under 5 minutes, scattered the fire, saddled horses, mounted up. The riders crested the ridge, 4 of them, moving with purpose. They've seen us, Silas said. Ride. They did, fast and hard through terrain that threatened to kill them every second. The riders gave chase. It became a race.
Speed versus endurance, desperation versus determination. Lila's horse stumbled on loose rock. She yanked its head up, kept it moving. Silas glanced back, made sure she was still upright, pushed forward. The riders gained, slowly but inevitably. "We can't outrun them," Lila shouted. "I know. Looking for defensible ground." A narrow canyon opened ahead. Silas veered into it. Lila followed. The walls rose steep on both sides, maybe 30 feet of open ground at the bottom. It was a trap, but it was also a funnel. Silas pulled up short. "Here. They can only come at us 2 at a time." They dismounted, took position behind rocks, rifles ready. The riders appeared at the canyon mouth, slowed when they saw the setup. Smart. They knew a choke point when they saw one. One of them shouted, "Elena Ward, you're surrounded. Give yourself up." "How about you go to hell?" Lila shouted back. "We don't want to kill you. We just want the evidence." "Should have thought of that before you started hunting me." Silence. Then, "We're coming in. Don't make this harder than it has to be." 2 riders dismounted, started forward, using their horses as cover. Silas aimed carefully. "You take left, I'll take right." "Copy." They waited until the riders were 20 feet away. Then they fired. Both horses went down. The riders dove for cover. Return fire came fast. Bullets ricocheted off rocks. Lila pressed flat. "We're pinned," she said. "Working on it." Silas fired twice more, forcing the riders to keep their heads down. Then he ran, straight up the canyon wall. "What are you doing?" Lila screamed. He didn't answer, just climbed, fast and reckless. She understood. High ground, better angle. She laid down covering fire, emptied her rifle, reloaded, kept shooting. Silas made it to a ledge, positioned himself above the riders. He shot the first one clean. The second realized what was happening, turned to fire up at Silas. Lila shot him in the back. 2 down. 2 left at the canyon mouth. Those 2 weren't stupid. They mounted up, rode hard away. Silas climbed back down. "You good?" "Define good." "Alive and not bleeding." "Then yes." They checked the bodies, found more letters, more evidence of Vance's reach. "He's got people everywhere," Lila said. "Makes our testimony more important. Or more pointless. If he owns this many guns, how many judges does he own?" "We'll find out." They rode out of the canyon, kept moving, pushed the horses to their limits. By nightfall, they could see lights in the distance. Silverton. They'd made it. Now came the hard part. They didn't ride straight into town. That would have been stupid, and they'd survived this long by not being stupid. Instead, they circled wide, came in from the east where the buildings were sparse and the streets less traveled. Found a stable on the outskirts, run by an old man who didn't ask questions when Silas paid him double. "Keep the horses ready," Silas told him. "We might need to leave fast." The old man pocketed the coins. "Ain't seen you. Don't know you. That the arrangement? That's it?" They walked into Silverton as the sun set. Lila kept her hat low, her coat buttoned high. In the fading light, she could pass for a young man if no one looked too close. The town was bigger than Bellevue by a magnitude. Actual streets. Buildings with second stories, a hotel with glass windows. People everywhere. "Federal Marshal's office is on Main Street," Silas said quietly. "Near the bank." "We going straight there?" "No. First we eat, get a room, clean up. Show up looking like desperate fugitives, they'll treat us like desperate fugitives." "We are desperate fugitives. They don't need to know that." They found a boarding house that looked tired enough not to care who came through the door. The woman who ran it was ancient, half-deaf, and charged them $3 for a room without asking their names. The room was small, 1 bed, 1 chair, a wash basin with a cracked pitcher, but it had a lock on the door and walls that didn't let the wind through. Lila sat on the bed. It creaked but held. "This is the nicest place I've been in months. Bar's pretty low. I have standards. They're just very, very low right now." She pulled off her boots. Her feet were blistered and raw. "How do you want to play tomorrow?" "Careful." We walk in, ask to speak to Marshal Garrett. Tell him we have evidence of criminal activity. Keep it vague until we know whose side he's on. And if he's on Vance's side, then we walk out and figure something else out. "What's something else?" "I don't know yet. Let me work on it." She lay back on the bed. stared at water stains on the ceiling. We're betting everything on one man being honest. You have a better idea? No, that's the problem. Silas sat beside her. We've come this far. Made it through winter, through wolves, through hired guns. We can make it through one conversation with a marshal. The guns I can handle. It's the politics I don't trust. Then don't trust them. Trust me. She looked at him, at this man who'd somehow become her entire world in 6 months. I do. That's what scares me. Why? Because if you're wrong, if Garrett's dirty, if this all falls apart, I don't know what we do next. We survive. Same as always. For how long? We can't run forever. Then we stop running. We plant our feet. We fight. Against an empire. Against whoever comes. He took her hand. I told you before. We're in this together. That hasn't changed. She wanted to believe it was enough. Wanted to think love and stubbornness could stand against money and power. But she'd seen what Vance did to people who opposed him. She'd watched him crush competitors, silence witnesses, buy judges and lawmen like they were livestock. Still, what choice did they have? They slept fitfully, wrapped around each other, guns within reach. Muck. Morning came with church bells and the smell of frying bacon from the boarding house kitchen. They washed with cold water from the pitcher, changed into the cleanest clothes they had. Lila bound her hair up again. Silas watched her transform back into a man in the cracked mirror. You're good at that, he said. I've had practice. From before? From always. You think being a woman alone in Boston was safe? Sometimes it was easier to disappear. They ate downstairs. Bacon, eggs, bread that was only slightly stale. The old woman who ran the place shuffled around, refilling coffee, humming to herself. Silas paid for 2 more nights. Just in case, he said quietly. They walked to the marshal's office through streets that were waking up. Miners heading to work, shopkeepers opening shutters, a freight wagon rumbling past. Normal life. The kind Lila had forgotten existed. The marshal's office was a squat building with bars on the windows and a sign that read Federal Marshal, District 7. Silas stopped at the door. Last chance to change your mind. And go where? Anywhere but here. She shook her head. We're doing this. All right then. He opened the door. Inside was a cramped front room with a desk, 2 chairs, and wanted posters covering every wall. A man sat at the desk, reading a newspaper. He looked up when they entered. Mid-40s, weathered face, gray at the temples, eyes that had seen too much and believed too little. Help you? He asked. We're looking for Marshal Garrett, Silas said. You found him. Garrett set the paper down. What's this about? We have information about criminal activity, multiple murders, land theft, corruption. We need to report it officially. Garrett's expression didn't change. Sit down. They did. Garrett studied them. You got names? Silas Varden. This is my partner. Partner got a name? Lila kept her voice low, rough. Doesn't matter. It matters to me. We're here about Richard Vance, Silas said. The railroad man. Something flickered in Garrett's eyes. I'm listening. We have evidence. Documents proving he's ordered murders, bribed officials, stolen land through fraud. We want to turn it over to federal authorities. Why come to me? Because you're the federal authority in this district. And why should I believe you have what you say you have? Silas pulled out one of the letters, the one with Vance's signature, the one ordering Elena Ward's death. Garrett read it slowly. His expression went cold. Where'd you get this? Off a dead man who tried to kill us. Us? Lila spoke before Silas could. I'm Elena Ward. Garrett's eyes snapped to her, really looked this time, saw through the disguise. You're the woman on the wanted posters. The woman Vance wants dead. Yes. Garrett set the letter down carefully. You know there's a price on your head. I know. $500. That's a lot of money. Lila's hand drifted toward her pistol. Silas tensed. Garrett saw it. Raised his hand slowly. Easy. I'm not reaching for my gun. I'm reaching for something else. He opened a drawer, pulled out a folder, pushed it across the desk. Inside were newspaper clippings. Reports. a list of names with dates next to them. I've been investigating Vance for 2 years, Garrett said. Every time I get close, witnesses disappear. Evidence vanishes. People who were ready to testify suddenly can't remember anything. He tapped the folder. 17 deaths tied to his operations. Can't prove a single one. Why not? Lila asked. Because he owns people. Judges, sheriffs, politicians. He's got enough money to buy his way out of anything, and the few honest men left are too scared to stand against him. Then why are you still investigating? Because someone has to. Garrett met her eyes. Because men like Vance think they're above the law, and I can't stomach that. Silas relaxed slightly. So you'll help us? Depends. What exactly do you have? Lila pulled out the rest of the documents, laid them on the desk one by one. Letters, ledgers, financial records showing bribes paid to specific officials, orders for intimidation, sabotage, murder. Garrett went through them methodically. His expression grew darker with each page. Finally, he looked up. This is enough. More than enough. This could bury him. Could? Lila said. Or will. Nothing's certain with men like Vance. He'll lawyer up, claim forgery, attack your credibility. I worked for him for 3 years. I know where everybody's buried. Literally. You willing to testify publicly? Yes. Even knowing he'll try to kill you again? He's already trying. At least this way I'm fighting back. Garrett nodded slowly. All right. Here's what happens next. I send a telegraph to the territorial governor. Request a special prosecutor. Someone outside Vance's reach. We bring formal charges, issue warrants, seize his assets. How long? Silas asked. Week. Maybe 2. Depends on how fast the governor moves. We don't have 2 weeks. Vance knows we're coming. He'll be preparing. Then we move faster. I'll send the telegraph today. Push for immediate action. And in the meantime, you stay here. Stay quiet. Don't go anywhere public. Don't talk to anyone. Garrett stood. I'll get you protection. Post a deputy outside wherever you're staying. We're at the Miller boarding house, Silas said. I'll send someone over. In the meantime, sit tight. Let me handle the legal side. They stood to leave. Garrett stopped them. One more thing. Why'd you come forward? You could have just kept running. Lila thought about it. Because I'm tired of being afraid and because someone needs to stop him. Even if it costs you everything? Especially then. Garrett almost smiled. You got spine, Miss Ward. Let's hope it's enough. They walked out into bright morning sun. Lila felt lighter somehow, like she'd set down a weight she'd been carrying for years. Think he's on the level? She asked. I think so, but we stay careful anyway. They headed back to the boarding house. A deputy was already there when they arrived. Young kid, couldn't be more than 25. Garrett had moved fast. Marshal Garrett sent me, the deputy said. I'm to keep watch. Make sure no one bothers you folks. Appreciate it, Silas said. They went upstairs, locked the door. Lila collapsed onto the bed. We did it, she said. We actually did it. First step, still a long way to go. Let me have this moment. Silas sat beside her. All right, have your moment. She closed her eyes. For the first time in months, she let herself imagine a future beyond survival, a life where she wasn't running, wasn't hiding, a life with Silas in their cabin, building something real. It felt impossibly fragile, but possible. The next 3 days passed in strange, tense limbo. They stayed in the room mostly, ate meals brought up by the old woman, read newspapers that were weeks out of date. The deputy changed shifts every 8 hours. Different men, all young, all taking the job seriously. Garrett stopped by on day 2. Governor responded. He's sending a prosecutor. Man named Harrison Mitchell, supposed to be incorruptible. Supposed to be, Lila said. Best we're going to get. He arrives in 4 days. That's a long time. It's fast for the government, trust me. On day 3, things got complicated. Silas was downstairs getting water when he overheard 2 men talking. Heard Vance's men are in town, looking for someone. What someone? That fugitive woman. Ward, word is she's here. Silas didn't wait to hear more. He went back upstairs fast. We need to leave, he told Lila. What happened? Vance's men are here, in Silverton, looking for you. She went pale. How many? Don't know, but if they're searching buildings, it's only a matter of time before they check here. We tell Garrett. And say what? Lock us in a cell for protection? That makes us sitting targets. So what do? Silas thought fast. We move. Different location. Keep moving until Mitchell arrives. The deputy? We'll report back to Garrett. Who'll understand why we had to go. They packed in 5 minutes, slipped out the back way while the deputy was watching the front. Silverton suddenly felt like a trap. Every street corner could hide one of Vance's men. Every stranger could be a threat. They made it to the stable. The old man was still there, half asleep in a chair. Need the horses, Silas said. Thought you had 2 more nights paid. Plans changed. We need to move. The old man didn't argue, just helped them saddle up. They were leading the horses out when someone shouted, "That's them!" Lila turned. 3 men, armed, running toward them. "Go!" Silas yelled. They mounted fast, kicked the horses into a run. The men fired. Bullets whistled past. They tore through back alleys, crashed through a fence, scattered a chicken coop. Behind them, more shouts. More gunfire. "Where are we going?" Lila shouted. "Away!" They burst onto Main Street. People scattered. A woman screamed. More of Vance's men appeared. 5, 6, too many. They were surrounded. Silas pulled up short. Lila beside him, back to back. Rifles ready. "Nowhere to run, Ward," one of the men shouted. "Hand over the documents and we let you live." "Liar," Lila shouted back. "Have it your way." The men raised their weapons. A gunshot cracked from a rooftop. One of Vance's men dropped. More shots, from multiple positions. Vance's men scattered, seeking cover. Marshal Garrett appeared from behind a building. 3 deputies with him, all armed. "Federal Marshal!" Garrett shouted. "Drop your weapons!" Chaos erupted. Vance's men fired at the deputies. The deputies fired back. Citizens ran for cover. Silas grabbed Lila's arm. "This way!" They rode hard down a side street. Behind them, the gunfight intensified. They made it 3 blocks before someone cut them off. A man on horseback, expensive coat, cold eyes. Harrison Cole, the one who'd gotten away from the cabin. "End of the line," Cole said. He had a rifle trained on Lila. "You've caused a lot of trouble, Miss Ward." "Good," she said. "Vance sends his regards." Cole's finger moved to the trigger. Silas spurred his horse forward, slammed into Cole's mount. Both horses screamed, reared. Cole's shot went wide. Silas tackled him off the horse. They hit the ground hard, rolled, fought. Cole was bigger, trained. He got on top, hands around Silas's throat. Lila dismounted, raised her pistol, couldn't get a clean shot with them tangled together. Silas bucked, threw Cole off. They both scrambled for weapons. Cole was faster, got his pistol up first. Lila fired. Cole jerked, looked down at the blood spreading across his chest, looked up at her. "You were supposed to die quietly," he said. "I was never good at doing what I was supposed to." Cole collapsed. Silas stood, breathing hard. "You good?" "Yeah, you?" "Getting tired of almost dying." "Me too." Behind them, the gunfight was ending. Garrett and his deputies had won. Vance's men were dead or surrendering. Garrett walked over, saw Cole's body. "Harrison Cole, Vance's head of security. This is going to make things interesting." "Interesting how?" Silas asked. "Cole was wanted in 3 territories. His death, the documents you provided, the public gunfight in my town. Vance can't sweep this under the rug. It's too big, too visible. So what happens now?" "Now I telegraph the governor again. Tell him we need Mitchell here immediately, and I lock you 2 somewhere safe until he arrives." "The jail?" Lila asked. "My house. I've got a spare room, armed guards. Anyone wants to get to you, they'll have to go through me first." "Why are you doing this?" Lila asked. "You don't know us. This isn't your fight." "It became my fight when Vance's men shot up my town." Garrett looked at the bodies in the street, at the broken windows, at the citizens peeking out fearfully. "I'm tired of men like him thinking they own the world. Time someone reminded them they don't." They followed Garrett to his house. It was small, but solid. He showed them the spare room, posted 2 deputies outside. "Mitchell arrives tomorrow," Garrett said. "Sent an urgent telegraph. Governor moved up the timeline." "Tomorrow," Lila repeated. so close. You just have to survive one more night. He left them alone. Silas and Lila sat on the edge of the bed, exhausted. One more night, Silas said. Yeah. We can do one more night. I hope so. But they both knew that if Vance was desperate enough, one night was all he needed to end everything. Check. Midnight came with silence. Too much silence. Silas sat in a chair by the window, rifle across his lap. Lila tried to sleep but couldn't. Eventually gave up, sat beside him. You should rest, Silas said. Can't. Try. I did. Didn't work. They sat together in the dark, listening to the town settle. Around 1 a.m, one of the deputies knocked softly. Marshal wants to see you, says it's important. They followed him to Garrett's study. The marshal was at his desk, reading a telegram. His expression was grim. What is it? Lila asked. Garrett handed her the telegram. Just came in, from the territorial governor. She read it. Her blood went cold. Prosecutor Mitchell killed. Stop carriage accident. Stop investigation pending. Stop. Accident, she said flatly. That's what it says. You believe that? No. Silas read over her shoulder. Vance got to him. Or scared him off. Or bribed someone to make sure he never arrived. Garrett sat back. Either way, we don't have a prosecutor. So what do? Lila asked. We adapt. I'll request another prosecutor. Push the governor harder. How long? Week. Maybe more. We don't have a week. You said yourself Vance knows we're here. He'll send everything he has. Then we hold the line until reinforcements arrive. Lila looked at Silas, saw the same calculation in his eyes. 1 week of waiting was 1 week of dying slowly. There's another option, she said. What option? Garrett asked. We go public. Now. Before Vance can stop us. We give the documents to every newspaper in the territory. We make it so big, so public, that he can't silence it. That puts a bigger target on your back. The target's already there. At least this way, if he kills me, everyone knows why. Silas stood. She's right. Waiting just gives him time to plan. We go on the offensive. Garrett considered it. It's risky. Once it's public, you can't take it back. Every bounty hunter, every hired gun, everyone who wants that reward will come after you. They're already coming. This just gives us a reason to fight. Garrett was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. All right, we do it your way. I'll get word to the newspapers. Denver Post, Territorial Tribune, all of them. By tomorrow afternoon, Vance's crimes will be front-page news. And we prepare for war, Silas said. War it is. They spent the rest of the night fortifying Garrett's house, boarding windows, stockpiling ammunition, preparing for siege. By dawn, they were as ready as they'd ever be. The first newspaper arrived at noon, front-page headline, Railroad tycoon implicated in murder, fraud. Lila's testimony. The documents. Everything. By evening, the whole territory knew, and Vance knew they knew. The attack came at midnight, 15 men, maybe 20, armed with rifles, dynamite, rage. They surrounded Garrett's house, shouted demands. When no one answered, they opened fire. The battle was brutal, room to room, shot by shot. Garrett's deputies fought hard, died hard. Silas and Lila held the second floor, fired methodically, made every shot count. But there were too many. They kept coming. A stick of dynamite blew out the front door. Men poured in. Garrett fell back, bleeding from a shoulder wound. Upstairs, now! They retreated. Set up on the landing, became a choke point. Anyone who tried to come up the stairs died. But it couldn't last. They were running out of ammunition, running out of options. Silas was down to his last 6 rounds when he heard it. Horses, dozens of them, thundering down the street. The attackers heard it too, stopped, turned. Armed riders poured into view. Citizens of Silverton, miners with rifles, shopkeepers with shotguns, the old stable owner with a carbine. Garrett had deputized the whole town. The tide turned instantly. Vance's men were outnumbered 3-1. They broke. Ran. Were cut down or captured. Silence fell. Silas lowered his rifle slowly. Is it over? Garrett stood, clutching his bleeding shoulder. For tonight. They stumbled outside. Smoke, bodies, broken glass everywhere. but they'd won. Lila sank down on the porch steps, shaking, covered in powder burns and someone else's blood. Silas sat beside her. "You all right?" "No, but I'm alive." "That's enough." Garrett limped over. "You two, you're either the bravest people I've ever met or the stupidest." "Probably both," Lila said. "Well, either way, you won. The story's out. Every newspaper west of the Mississippi is running it. Vance can't kill it now. It's too big." "And us?" Silas asked. "You'll have to testify. Eventually. But for now, you've done enough. More than enough." He looked at Lila. "You took down an empire. That's something to be proud of." She didn't feel proud, just tired. But maybe pride would come later, when the shock wore off, when she could breathe without waiting for the next bullet. Silas took her hand. "Come on, let's get out of here." "Where are we going?" "Home." She looked at him. "The cabin burned down. Then we build another one." "Just like that?" "Just like that." She almost laughed. After everything. After the running and the fighting and the death. He wanted to go back to the mountain and build a cabin. It was absurd. It was perfect. "All right," she said. "Let's go home." They didn't leave immediately. Couldn't. The territorial governor wanted depositions. The newspapers wanted interviews. Lawyers showed up with papers to sign, questions to answer, promises that justice would be served. Lila sat through it all with the patience of someone who'd already fought her war and won. She told her story over and over until the words lost meaning, showed the documents so many times she could recite them from memory. Silas stayed close, never more than a room away, never more than a heartbeat from his rifle. 3 days after the siege, a telegram arrived from Denver. Richard Vance had been arrested. Federal marshals had raided his offices, seized his assets, found enough evidence to keep him in chains for the rest of his natural life. The charges were extensive: murder, fraud, conspiracy, racketeering. The list went on for 2 pages. "They got him," Garrett said, showing them the telegram. "He'll die in prison." Lila read it twice, waiting to feel something: relief, victory, joy. What she felt was tired. "Good," was all she said. Silas put his arm around her. "It's over." "Is it?" "The fighting's over. The rest is just paperwork." She wanted to believe him, but she'd learned the hard way that nothing was ever truly over. There would always be another threat, another danger, another reason to look over her shoulder. Still, this particular threat was done. Vance was finished. His empire was crumbling. The men who'd hunted her were dead or scattered. That was something. A week later, they were finally cleared to leave. The lawyers had everything they needed. The prosecutors assured them they wouldn't need to testify in person for months, maybe longer. "You're free to go," one of them said, like it was simple. Like freedom was something you could just hand someone. Lila and Silas packed what little they had. Said goodbye to Garrett, who'd become something like a friend through all of this. "You did a brave thing," he told Lila. "Not many people would have stood up the way you did." "I didn't have a choice." "Everyone has a choice. You just made the hard one." He shook her hand. "If you ever need anything, you know where to find me." They rode out of Silverton on a clear April morning. The snow was melting. The air smelled like pine and possibility. Lila breathed deep for what felt like the first time in months. "You good?" Silas asked. "Getting there." They rode in comfortable silence for a while. Then Silas said, "You know we don't have to go back to the cabin. Where else would we go?" "Anywhere. We could head to California, Oregon. Hell, we could go east if you wanted. Boston even." She looked at him. "You'd go back east? You hate cities." "I'd go anywhere you wanted to go." "Because you love me?" "Because you're my wife, and your home is my home, wherever that is." She thought about it. Imagined a different life. A city apartment. Regular work. Neighbors. Normalcy. The image made her feel claustrophobic. "I want to go back," she said, "to the mountain, to our land. I want to rebuild what we lost." "It won't be easy. We're starting from nothing. We've done it before." "That was different. You didn't know what you were getting into. And now I do. And I'm still choosing it." She met his eyes. "I'm choosing you. And that life. Is that answer enough?" He smiled, actually smiled, full and real.
Yeah, that's answer enough. They rode toward the mountains, toward home.
The cabin site looked worse than Lila remembered. The fire had reduced everything to charred timber and ash. The chimney stood like a tombstone. Nothing else remained. They stood there for a long time, just looking. Well, Silas said finally, could be worse. How? Could be snowing. She laughed despite herself. You're an optimist now? I'm a realist. And realistically, we've got 2 months before winter. That's enough time to build something livable. You sure about that? No. But we'll figure it out. They set up camp in the clearing, same spot where the cabin had been, like they were claiming it back from the ashes. That first night, lying under the stars with nothing but canvas between them and the sky, Lila said, I'm sorry. For what? For bringing all of this into your life, the danger, the violence, the loss of everything you'd built. Silas was quiet for a moment, then, You didn't bring danger. You brought purpose. Before you, I was just surviving, going through motions, existing. And now? Now I'm living. There's a difference. Even after everything we've been through? Especially after everything we've been through. He pulled her closer. You think I'd trade you for a cabin that was falling apart anyway? For a life that was just me and silence and waiting to die? Not a chance. You're sentimental when you want to be. Don't tell anyone. I have a reputation. She pressed her face against his chest. I love you. I love you too. Now go to sleep. We've got work in the morning. She did. Slept better than she had in months. No nightmares. No jolting awake at every sound. Just peace. They started rebuilding at dawn. Cleared the charred timber. Salvaged what they could. Started cutting new logs from the surrounding forest. It was brutal work. Every muscle Lila had screamed in protest. Her hands blistered, then calloused over, then blistered again. But there was something satisfying about it. Something honest. No politics, no schemes, just wood and nails and sweat. 2 weeks in, a rider appeared. Lila reached for her rifle instinctively. Easy, the rider called. I'm not here to cause trouble. It was a woman, maybe 30, weathered, strong-looking. She had a wagon behind her loaded with supplies. You must be the Vardens, she said. Heard about what happened in Silverton. Wanted to help. We didn't ask for help, Silas said. Didn't say you did. But you stood up to Vance. That takes guts. Figure the least we can do is make sure you don't starve while rebuilding. She unloaded the wagon. Flour, beans, coffee, nails, tools, even lumber. This is too much, Lila said. It's enough. Take it. We can't pay you. Don't want payment. Just want to see good people make it. The woman climbed back onto her wagon. Name's Sarah. I run the trading post over in Red Creek. You need anything else, you let me know. She left before they could argue. Over the next month, more people came. A trapper brought venison. A family of settlers shared seeds for planting. Even the old stable owner from Silverton showed up with 2 chickens and a rooster. For eggs, he said. Everyone needs eggs. Lila was overwhelmed. Why are people doing this? Because you gave them hope, Silas said. You showed them that people can stand up to power and win. That matters to folks out here. I didn't do it for them. Doesn't matter. They still benefited. Let them say thank you. So she did. Accepted the help with grace she didn't know she had. Learned that sometimes being strong meant letting people in, not keeping them out. By June, they had walls. By July, a roof. By August, the cabin was habitable. It was smaller than the old one. Rougher. But it was theirs. Built with their hands. Earned with their blood and choices. The first night they slept inside, Lila lay awake listening to rain on the new roof. You happy? Silas asked from the darkness. Yeah, I think I am. You think? I'm not used to being happy. Takes some getting used to. We'll get used to it, because I plan on keeping you this way for a long time. She smiled. That a promise? That's a guarantee. Fall came with gold leaves and cold nights. They prepared for winter with the efficiency of people who'd learned hard lessons. Stockpiled wood, salted meat, reinforced the chimney, made sure every gap was sealed, every window secure. This time, they were ready. One evening in late September, Lila was cooking dinner when she heard horses. multiple horses. Her hand went to the rifle by the door. "Relax," Silas said from the window. "It's Garrett." The marshal rode up with two companions, federal men, by the look of them. Garrett dismounted. "Sorry to show up unannounced. Got news I thought you'd want to hear in person." "What news?" Lila asked. "Vance's trial started last week. He's being charged with everything we discussed and then some. Prosecutors are confident it's a clean conviction." "That's good. There's more. He's trying to make a deal. Testimony against his business partners in exchange for a reduced sentence. Will they take it?" "No, they don't need him. The evidence you provided, plus testimony from other victims who came forward after the newspapers ran your story, it's airtight. He's going to prison for life. No deals, no escapes." Lila felt something release in her chest, something she'd been holding tight for too long. "It's really over," she said. "It's really over. You won." "We won," she corrected. "None of this happens without you." Garrett nodded. "Well, either way, justice is being served. Thought you should know." He stayed for dinner. They talked about everything and nothing, the weather, the upcoming winter. Small things that felt large because they were normal. Before he left, Garrett pulled Lila aside. "One more thing. The territorial governor wants to give you a commendation. Public recognition for your courage. There'd be a ceremony in Denver, press, speeches, the whole affair." "No." "You sure? It's a chance to what? Become a symbol? A story people tell? I don't want that. I just want to live my life." Garrett studied her. "You know, most people would jump at that kind of recognition." "I'm not most people." "No, you're not." He smiled. "I'll tell the governor you declined. But for what it's worth, you earned it. What you did matters, changed things, made the territory safer for everyone. Then that's enough. I don't need a medal to know I did the right thing." He left at dawn. Lila watched him ride away, then turned back to the cabin. To Silas working on the new fence. To the chickens scratching in the dirt. To the life they'd built from ashes. This was what she wanted. Not recognition, not fame. Just this. Immersive. Winter came hard that year. Snow piled 6 feet deep. The temperature dropped so low that breath froze in the air. But inside the cabin, it was warm. The new chimney drew perfectly. The walls held against the wind. They had food, fuel, and each other. Lila spent long evenings learning to read properly. Silas taught her, patient and thorough. By February, she could make it through a whole newspaper without help. "You're a good teacher," she said one night. "You're a good student when you want to be." "What's that supposed to mean?" "Means you're stubborn about learning things you think you should already know." "I am not." "You spent 3 days trying to fix the stove yourself before asking for help." "I figured it out eventually. After it caught fire." "Small fire." He laughed. "My point exactly." They were good together, balanced. When one struggled, the other carried. When both struggled, they leaned on each other until they could stand. It wasn't perfect. They fought sometimes. About stupid things, about serious things, about whether to repair the fence now or wait until spring. But they always came back together, always chose each other. One night in March, as winter started breaking, Lila said, "I've been thinking about something." "Yeah?" "About what comes next. After winter. After we're settled." "What about it?" "I think I want to help people. Women like me, running from dangerous situations. Give them a place to go. A way to disappear safely." Silas considered it. "That's dangerous work." "So is everything worth doing?" "True. But it means bringing other people's trouble to our door. We can handle it? Can we? We handled Vance. We can handle anything." He looked at her, saw the determination in her eyes, the certainty. "All right," he said. "We'll do it. Together. You sure?" "I'm sure. Someone gave you a second chance when you needed it. Makes sense to pass that forward." She kissed him. "Have I mentioned I love you?" "Not in the last 5 minutes." "Well, I do. I love you too. Even when you're dragging me into dangerous charitable work. Especially then." They started planning how to connect with the agency that had helped Lila, how to set up a safe route through the mountains, how to prepare the cabin to shelter women in crisis. It gave them purpose beyond survival, beyond themselves. And maybe that was the point. Maybe the whole journey, from Boston to the mountains to Silverton and back, had been about learning that strength wasn't just surviving. It was choosing to help others survive too. Spring came with wildflowers and melting snow. The mountain transformed, hard edges softened, frozen ground thawed. Lila stood on the porch one morning, watching the sun rise over the peaks, and realized she couldn't remember the last time she'd been afraid. Not afraid of the wilderness, not afraid of the cold, not afraid of men with guns and money. She'd survived all of it, not by becoming harder, by becoming herself. Silas came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "How far we've come. How different everything is from that first day you saw me at the train station." "You mean when I tried to send you away?" "That'd be the day. Best mistake I ever made, trying to reject you." "You didn't have a choice. I refused to leave." "True. You were stubborn even then." "Still am." "I know. It's one of my favorite things about you." She leaned back against him. "We did good, didn't we, despite everything?" "We did better than good. We built something real, something that matters." "You think it'll last?" "I think we'll fight like hell to make sure it does. That's all anyone can do." She turned in his arms, looked up at him. This man who'd been a stranger, who'd become her partner, her husband, her home. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For not giving up on me. For fighting when it would have been easier to walk away. For choosing this life with me. Thank you for being worth fighting for." They stood there as the sun climbed higher, warming the world, burning off the last of winter. That afternoon, a rider came. Young woman, terrified, running from a husband who'd tried to kill her. Lila took her in, fed her, gave her clean clothes and a safe place to sleep. "How long can I stay?" the woman asked. "As long as you need, until you're ready for the next step." "What's the next step?" "That's up to you. New name, new town, new life. We'll help you get there. But you decide where there is." The woman started crying. "I don't know how to thank you." "You don't have to. Just survive. Just choose to keep living. That's thanks enough." Over the next year, more came. Women fleeing violence, fleeing poverty, fleeing lives that would have killed them. Lila and Silas helped them all. Not because it was easy, because it was right. The cabin became known, quietly, carefully, as a waypoint, a safe house, a place where broken people could start healing. It was dangerous work. They had close calls. Angry men showed up sometimes, demanding their wives back, demanding their property. Silas handled them, firmly, finally. His reputation as the man who'd faced down Vance's empire preceded him. Most men didn't push. The ones who did learned hard lessons. But mostly, it was good work. Hard work. The kind that left you exhausted at the end of the day, but satisfied too. The kind that mattered. 2 years after the siege in Silverton, Lila got a letter. Official seal, government stamps. She opened it carefully. It was from the territorial governor, informing her that Richard Vance had died in prison. Heart failure, the letter said. Natural causes. She read it twice, then handed it to Silas. "How do you feel?" he asked. "I don't know. I thought I'd feel something. Relief. Satisfaction. But it's just nothing. That's probably healthy. He's been gone from your life for 2 years. He was already dead in every way that mattered." "I guess so." She looked at the letter again. "Strange to think it's really over." "It's been over. This is just paperwork catching up." She folded the letter, put it in the stove, watched it burn. "There," she said. "Now it's over." That night she dreamed of Boston for the first time in months, but it wasn't the nightmare she used to have. Wasn't Vance hunting her through dark streets? It was just her, younger, standing at a train station, holding a ticket west. Dream Lila looked scared, lost, unsure, present. Lila wanted to tell her it would be okay, that the journey ahead would be brutal but worth it, that she'd find strength she didn't know she had, find love in the last place she expected, find home. But she couldn't, could only watch as Dream Lila boarded the train, headed toward a future she couldn't imagine. Lila woke to morning light and Silas sleeping beside her, to chickens clucking outside, to the smell of pine and coffee, to home. She got up, started the fire, made breakfast, fed the chickens, did all the small tasks that made up a life. Silas joined her eventually. They worked side by side, comfortable, easy. Around noon, a wagon appeared on the trail. Another woman seeking refuge. Lila met her at the door, saw the fear in her eyes, the desperation. "You're safe now," Lila told her. "Whatever you're running from, it stops here." The woman broke down sobbing. Lila held her, let her cry, because she understood. She'd been that woman once, terrified, running, convinced she'd never stop being afraid. But she had stopped, had found peace on a mountain with a stubborn man and a rebuilt cabin and purpose bigger than survival. And if she could do it, so could this woman. So could all of them. That was the lesson she'd learned. The hard truth earned through blood and winter and choices that had cost everything. Strength wasn't about never being afraid. It was about being afraid and choosing courage anyway. About falling and getting back up. About losing everything and building again from ashes. It was about looking at impossible odds and saying, "Not today." It was about love strong enough to fight for. Worth defending. Worth rebuilding a whole life around. Lila had come to these mountains to disappear. Instead, she'd found herself, found Silas, found purpose, found that sometimes the best endings aren't smooth or perfect. They're earned, scarred, real. She'd been the trembling woman on a train platform, the mail-order bride deemed unfit, the fugitive running for her life. Now she was Elena Varden, wife, fighter, survivor, helper of those who needed it most. Not because the journey had been easy, because it had been hard, and she'd refused to break. The mountain had tested her, winter had tried to kill her, men with guns had hunted her. She'd survived all of it, not alone, with a partner who'd chosen to stand beside her even when it meant losing everything. That was the real victory, not defeating Vance, not escaping death, but finding someone worth surviving for, worth building a life with, worth fighting beside. As spring turned to summer and the cabin filled with women finding their way to new lives, Lila understood something fundamental. Home wasn't a place. It was people. Choices. The decision to plant roots even when the ground was hard. To build even when you'd lost everything. To love even when it was terrifying. She'd found hers on a frozen mountain with a man who'd expected her to fail. She'd proven him wrong, proven herself capable of things she'd never imagined. And now she was paying it forward, one frightened woman at a time, one new beginning at a time. Because that's what survivors did. They survived. Then they turned around and helped the next person survive too. Silas found her later that evening, standing on the porch, watching the sunset. "You good?" he asked. She took his hand. "Yeah, I'm good." "Just good?" "Better than good. I'm home." He pulled her close. They stood there as darkness fell and stars emerged. The mountain loomed around them. Beautiful, dangerous. Theirs. Somewhere in the cabin, the women they'd taken in were settling in for the night. Safe, warm. Given the chance Lila had been given, tomorrow would bring new challenges, new dangers, new reasons to be afraid. But tonight, there was this. Peace, love, purpose. It was enough. It was everything. And as the first stars appeared over the mountains, Elena Varden, once a frightened fugitive, now a woman who'd earned her strength through fire and ice and impossible choices, smiled. She'd survived. More than that, she'd lived. And she'd keep living, keep fighting, keep choosing courage. Not because it was easy, because it was worth it.